Yeah, coffee. Some coffee. Είμαστε στο εργοστάσιο, στην εταιρεία, στην Dual, στρατηγικά που θα γίνει η παρουσίαση. Έχουμε όλα τα στάδια παραγωγής, μέχρι και στιθοσκόπιο. Εδώ είμαστε.
If you coffee, but if you prefer beer, we have a beer.
Yeah.
Nice and good. Yeah, we have.
I take beer.
Okay.
Good shot.
We also have it so good. Yeah.
Μπορείς πια να καταλάβεις με αυτό καινούριο, τώρα είναι παλιό. Τα κάνουνε, μάλλον όμως είναι παλιό. Κρίνοντας από τα καλώδια.
Most of you know, Dual was one of the largest turntable manufacturers in the world. They had 3,500 employees, and they build about 1 million turntables a year. They're taken from the 1249 model from 1975. So this is an identical copy of the old Dual style. We always use pivot ball bearings in our design. So you can see here on left and right, it is the most precise and at the same time freely moving ball bearing option you can have. And that's the reason why we're using that. So for example, there are some competitors which use normal larger ball bearings. There is loads of different options and versions. But this has been what they also used already in the 1970s, as we can see, and the reason is that it is not the most cost-effective way, and there are simpler versions. So that's the reason why these days, when you look around, loads of companies have got loads of funny ways, but we went the traditional route. A couple of other elements, what we at Dual believe is quintessential is, for example, we use a spring-loaded anti-skating. The benefit is that you have got very fine adjustment, which is defined, rather than a string with a weight or a magnet, where you all had a magnet when you were a child. There is no force, no force, no force, or force. So this is something you don't want to have. We want to have a defined force or anti-force all the way across. And then when you use different different pickups with different tracking forces, it needs to be nicely adjustable. Hence, we use a spring like we can see on the top left photo over there. Now, the other element, what is good? That's what, very good. Now, if you could just step to the side and do the other one. Thank you, Mario. The other element, what we actually believe, which is also Dual has always done in its history, are removable head shells. And the benefit is for the customer that if he wants to actually change his pickup, it is quick, easy. So he can actually, for example, he could do a 78-speed use a 78-speed cartridge, or you can change between MM and MC, or he could actually compare different ones if you wanted to, and you have it pre-mounted, and it takes about 30 seconds to take it off, put it on, change the tracking force, and play again. Of the products always defines what mechanism you have. 29 is always automatic.
Excuse me. No problem.
29 is always an automatic product. If you've got 18, you always have a manual product. 300s, traditionally, Dual always operated that way. Your 400s and 500s, 600s, 700s, you have had a hierarchy. So you, your dealer and your customer always know what you talk about, what kind of product and at what level. So the customer usually only knows how much money he wants to spend. But when you say, I've got a 400 series, you know, right, you actually got an automatic right in the middle, and with a bit of insight, it also the technologies which we have explained repeat themselves. So the 3 to 9, which is the new entry model to come, is plug and play. So you can't adjust the counterweight. There is a fixed anti-skating, and there is no removable head shell. So you just have to adjust your speed. You press go, and it starts like an automatic should be. The same even on the entry model is the same as on the bigger ones. The mechanism is completely detached from the tone arm when it's running. So it operates and then it moves back, and there is no interference with the tone arm itself. 300 series will have got an 1891 cartridge. This is the prototype. We have a belt drive, and quintessential, what we use on all dual products, we have got a thick rubber mat. I will go into that in a second. Then we've got the 429. So now you've got the typical plinth size, what we have on the UCS models. When Alfred designed these products, he made a statement that he certainly wanted to have a product for the future, but he also wanted to have a reference to the heritage, to the 1970s. And which basically means we don't want to have a board player, but we want to have a proper plinth. And the plate on the bottom is reminiscing to the old days where you actually had the angular shape. So we have got the 429, it's got the entry arm, but now it is adjustable with the counterweight and the anti-skating, but you just got 2 buttons basically for start and stop, and you got your speed selection. On the what's interesting on the better models is that here you actually have you got a belt drive. 400s and 500s are still belt drive. Future 6 and 700s are always direct drives. And on these models you actually have a speed regulation. So you've got a little cocked wheel, and you've got a sensor to actually measure the current speed in order to adjust it. So the benefit is we actually have got a pretty good, flutter performance of 0.08 maximum on this. Coming back again now, I've got it in my hands. Why do we actually use rubber mats? The optimal sandwich. We have always aluminium platters for the best static discharge via the aluminium platter and the grounded spindle. And at the same time, you got the typical one when people go, oh yes, but aluminium, it rings very nicely, but nobody listens to his vinyl like this when you use it as a bell. So when you put it on, so this is the state you would use it. So the combination of the platter with the rubber mat, we traditionally as well always see the rubber mat as optimal. Why do a lot of people or companies don't supply them? Well, I think the purchase price of this rubber mat is 8 euros now. Felt mat is 50 cents. So you do the math. And then if you say, right, you do the maths, that probably adds almost 50 to 100 euros at a final customer price. But even though the price is really half, it has doubled, we are sticking with the rubber mat because it is superior performance for decoupling from the noise that's actually in the chassis, and at the same time reducing or minimizing the resonance energy that's actually in the vinyl from the playing process. So it is effectively, it's got the same drive mechanism as the 429, but now you got the 500 series is always with the better tone arm, twin gimbal. And so you got all the same features, apart from the Bluetooth operation and music transfer, you've got the 2M red, and the benefit is you've got the dual classical tone arm to go with it.
Bluetooth speaker
So, 618 is, you still got the twin gimbal tone arm, however, you have got the 2M blue as a standard pickup. You have got a direct drive with a double shield. So you've got the internal shield of the rotor, and then you've got a another shielded plate on top. Basically, in the past, or some direct drives which didn't have that, it is a bit problematic with MC pickups. It's not the case here. Also, what you then have got a heavier die-cast aluminium platter, and the benefit of die-cast is actually that it is quite clever, that you can put the weight to the outside of the rim to give you the fly wheel effect. So you place the mass where it matters. Now, if you've got solid plates, they are really, really heavy, but the mass that's actually centered to the spindle gives you no benefit apart from extra wear and tear on your bearing. So more is not always better. More gives you more problems, so you do actually want to optimize it where you want to have it, which is the smart way. So we have got over the 518 to the 618 direct drive, better pickup, heavier platter, and when it will work one day, you have got a auto stop and lift feature. So when it comes to the end, the motor stops spinning, and the lever is then electronically motorized and will just go up. So the tone arm is completely manual, it's not affected whatsoever. Now we're going to have the 618 in three surface options. The standard black. This is a real walnut wood veneer. That's the same surface finish we're going to have the 529 and on the 518. And that is the top model for the time being. We might consider doing a 718 going forward, but that is actually not finalized at the moment. And our limited edition top model is the Primus Maximus, which has basically kicked off the new CS series as a statement product. We have got a twin gimbal arrangement as of the old days, but this time with a dynamic tracking force, where the tracking force is actually set with a spring loaded. We again have got a spring loaded anti-skating, and on this we have got a complete different direct drive, which is completely individually made by Alfred and designed. So this is, I would say, one of the top direct drives for turntables on the world at the moment. Then we have got a heavy platter with a thick rubber mat to finish it off, and an aluminium and carbon fibre tone arm tube. So the plinth, we will see in a second, is completely individual, and I will explain to you why when we go next door. So you see, this is the lineup as it will be, hopefully by the beginning of next year. You got the magnet, and then you got the shield again. So as Alfred already said, the challenge is you would actually have to integrate this into the automatic mechanism, which we will show you in a second. This is just a basic DC motor as we use it on the models of the 3, 4 and 500 series. As you can see here, actually we use rubber grommets to stop the vibration. Now, DC motors usually spin at around 1,000 revolutions per minute, more or less. AC motors spin roughly, 300 to 700 revolutions? Yeah, depending on the frequency. Now, and the direct drive motor spins at 33 or 45 or 78 maximum. Now, the benefit, the characteristics are, so you've got high frequency noise on your plinth. The AC motor, doesn't matter how expensive it is, has got the inherent rumble, so it's got strong vibrations. Lower frequency, stronger rumble. Now, the direct drive is completely quiet. There is no high frequency, there is no rumble. This is the old basic tone arm. So you've got just everything is in plastic, and you've got just a nail through. There is no proper bearing. And if you want to, yeah. And the other one, you actually have got a die-cast aluminium, and you've got proper pivot ball bearings left and right. Yeah, that's the one. So, hang on. So, differences? That's the difference.
Oh, yeah.
So see here, what you have is, the benefit is that your balls are extremely close together in your turntable, and that the force is as close as possible to the pivot point. We've got the direct drive here, and we have got a belt drive. And our belt drive is the same like every other one. You have got some noise in it. But anybody wants to check it out?
Play doctor. Play doctor.
Yeah, play doctor. And even the turntable this time. So, if you want to listen on the plinth, oh, the other way. With this.
You're not a doctor.
You hear anything?
No.
Because there's nothing.
No.
It's dead quiet.
Yep.
No, give him this.
So, right. So if you now hear it.
Oh yeah, you can hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Yep. And then I've got some cleaning stuff for you.
Automated turntables create some distortion because the automated stuff is creating resonances and whatever. But this is kind of bullshit. The tone arm here moves completely free, and the automatic stuff is really started only when the record is at the end. So the planter axle can move completely freely, has no connection to the automated stuff. The tone arm moves completely free. Nothing happens. The only thing what triggers the end switch off point is at the end, when the tone arm is almost at the end of the record, there is a small plastic lever which is touched, and this one is moving this small mechanism towards the axle, and then the next turn takes the toothed wheel and creates this movement, everything, and at the end it's free again. So the whole mechanism there has nothing to do with the reproduction of the music. It's just switched on when we're at the end of the record, and then it's no music anymore. So there's absolutely nothing which is a problem with automated turntable. So that's my laboratory and my assembly room for prototypes and also for the Primus Maximus. What you see here is already their ordered Primus Maximus with different design. You see the veneer is walnut tree. This is a kind of tropic wood. This is different wood styles, so every customer can decide of a huge selection of veneer what you would like to have with this turntable. So they really manually produced. This is done by myself, and that's why it's also not the cheapest one. Starts with this unit. So that's the PCB board with the coils on it. It's air core, as Lothar explained already, and there are the sensors which detect the magnetic position of the rotor, and there's also on the other side the optical sensor which detects the we have it there is it. So that's the rotor for this, and it has a kind of tooth wheel which is detected by this sensor to ensure that the right speed is always correct. And this is not just done by this one, because it's also needed to have a controller. So the controller is that small unit which is connected to the pins here. So in the end, when everything is in the housing, these two units are sticking together, and on this plug there is the interface for speed selection and pitch control. Here you see also, this is, let's say, the next step. The PCB board has got on the other side metal. This is a steel plate, which is I call it flux plate, magnetic flux plate, because the magnet ring here goes through the metal plate, and then the, let's say, north-south movement from the magnet goes over this plate. To see why it's turning, I have this paper which can detect magnetic fields, and you see the rotor has 8 segments, north, south, north, south, north, south, and this magnetic fields are. Where's my PCB board? This one. These magnetic fields are detected by the Hall sensors here, and the Hall sensor can always trigger one or the other coils. So whenever it goes the next 45 degrees, the one reduces the current through the coils, and the other one starts the current in the next. So it's always a kind of sine wave going through these coils to come to the next step.
So it's an electronic commutator.
Yes, yes. This is the electronic commutation. Yes, that's what Lothar explained with the ball bearings here. You can see it's moving very, very free, but has almost no free play. And there is the typical dual spring, which can add tracking force. So I've set it to 2, and now you see this one has a strong force which moves the tone arm downwards, that the tracking force is exactly at the 2 grams. So that's a different way than doing it with just a balanced tone arm and just readjusting the weight on the other side that it's dropping.
No, this is the dynamic balancing method.
That's one which is planned also when we do a 700 model. It must have this specific tracking force. Computer-based stuff, but I would like to have the analog stuff. The real
What test records are you using?
test cycles. What
Records. What test records?
Record. I have for the old stuff. I have the DIN-based. You know, the different DIN records, and I have also for Weinflutter, for example, I have this one. This is what I use for my
Yes, okay, this is as well known.
Yes, they made it new because Wauenflütter is the problem. If it's played too often, it has distortion and it creates Wauenflütter where there is no one.
Yes.
So,
You must change the...
yes, I think there are 2 tracks on it, so you can use it a little bit more. And when they're worn, you must buy a new one. Anymore. That's it. This is a skatometer. It's an old dual design. You see the needle is very easily moving because the needle is driven by a stylus. There's a real stylus on it, and once you place it on the record, it moves in that way where the skating force is moving. I dropped something. So you can really measure skating, and you can do anti-skating according to the scale. So these are milligrams, so you can measure milligrams of skating force with a record which is with no modulation, just with a groove, but no modulation. And then it's very
A silent
easy.
groove.
A silent groove. Then you can better see the stylus, because when there's no silence, you see it's always vibrating. But the silent groove, and then you can really measure the skating. I was always kind of fan of dual, and I bought all the dual models over time. So I have here almost every model since the...
Every model of dual. Fantastic.
And
Und dann haben sie für 1 Euro die ganze Produktionsstraße gegeben, plus alles Material. Und wir haben ihm dann in den letzten Jahren noch eine Lizenz gegeben, dass er
Is all the model of dual? All the model?
not all, but
dann
since
vor 2
the
Jahren die
beginning of the
Lizenz entzogen.
70s,
In den
I'm
letzten
almost
20 Jahren hat aber Fehrenbacher,
not elder. The elder models,
die
I don't
haben
know.
können keine Entwicklung machen. Die haben...
They're very good.
Okay.
So that's the museum, my personal museum. What you see here is maybe every dual model since the beginning of the 70s. And I collected this as a fan of the brand dual, but I also collected it because I wanted to know what's inside. So I opened every player and studied together with the service manuals. I studied the technology in there. That was, let's say, the